Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Roland Roberts, and I'd like to welcome you to today's empowerment session titled Learning to Love Money with guest Dr. Minette Riordan. Dr. Riordan is an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and coach who is passionate about helping women entrepreneurs create freedom, flexibility, and financial independence. Minette built a successful six-figure multimedia publishing company in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, growing a small quarterly newspaper to a monthly magazine that distributed 50,000 copies per month. After 12 years, she sold that business and relocated to Santa Barbara, California with her husband and two teens. Minette is also co-author of the book From Fizzle to Sizzle, 4 Crucial Tools for Relationship Repair. So please join Ginga Baby's Vice President of Empowerment, Drea Bauer, as she and Dr. Riordan discuss learning to love money. Drea?
Thanks so much, Roland. Minette, I'm so excited. I love the title of this book, Fizzle to Sizzle. And I know that you cook too, so I know there's going to be a lot of great tips in there. Tell me, why is understanding our relationship to money so important?
From my perspective, it's usually the biggest thing that's holding us back from really achieving the success they want. And no matter what level of financial success we're at, we always tend to hit a ceiling, and there's always higher place that we can go. And when we can understand what emotionally is holding us back, then we can move through that. If we don't know what our challenges are, it's kind of difficult to move through.
It's so true. It's so true. We attached all kinds of things on our unconscious that we aren't even aware of that we're doing. So you mentioned somebody's money story can limit their success without them even knowing it, so to speak. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, for example, I'll give you an idea of a client that I worked with using the Sacred Money Archetype Assessment that I love to use, especially with women. And when we did her assessment, we realized why she was creating this roller coaster of her finances. She is a romantic, was her top archetype, and a romantic loves to spend money all the time and on themselves and on others, and it's all about feeling good, and feeling good is what's most important to them. But what happened with her in particular is that she would see money in her bank account and she would say, oh, I've got money to spend. And she would go spend it without thinking forward that, oh, there's bills coming in next week or groceries to buy or kids to take care of. And so she was caught up sort of in the moment of nurturing this romantic side of her without being really conscientious about the deeper impact. So she was in this awful cycle of feast or famine that was really impacting her relationship with her husband, her relationship with her kids, and her business dramatically.
So I played with your assessments, and I think of myself as a maverick, but I also have some of those tendencies where I conserve, and I always think about the future and the rainy day and stuff. What kinds of questions can we ask ourselves to uncover our personal money story?
Well, from your personal money story perspective, it's really important to look at how you were raised. What's kind of your family money legacy? And it's not something maybe that was talked about in our family, but we all have weird relationships to money based on the way that our parents dealt or didn't deal with money. And some of us had grandparents that went through the Depression that had a big impact. A lot of them were kind of the money under the mattress, types of fearful of banks, fearful to spend any money. They held on to money really tightly, which has a real impact. In my personal case, I had a stepfather who grew up during the Depression and always had plenty of money. Money was super important to him. He really valued security higher than anything, but he never spent any money. And I wish that during his lifetime he would have enjoyed his money a little bit more, but it was too scary to do that. So that would be an accumulator archetype, people that really hold on tightly to their money, and they're great with their money, but they're terrified of spending it. So they don't enjoy it, and they don't invest in themselves or sometimes even in other resources to grow their wealth, which we all know if you just sit on your money, it's not going to grow.
You're right, and he who dies with the most is not necessarily the winner either. So I so agree with you. You've got to kind of look at both sides of the equilibrium. You want to make certain that you have enough for the future, but you have what you want to spend and enjoy now. So it's there's got to be some reward at the end of the day as well.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
how does our fear around money impact our business success?
I think it depends on the archetype. So for you, if you're a maverick, you're pretty fearless with money. You're really willing to take a lot of big risks, which can also come with big losses as well. But other archetypes like the nurturer, you talked about being of service, or my top archetype, which is the connector, are really challenged by our fear of asking for money. Where I see women entrepreneurs struggle, or even women in relationships at home struggle, is just being willing to ask for the money that they need and that they want. And in business, this can really translate to not charging enough, not charging what you're worth. But it can also mean giving away your money, or in my case, not paying attention to the financial details. I'm so focused on people that I forget to pay attention to the money details, and that gets you in trouble in a whole variety of ways. So being careful not to give away too much. And sometimes it's not always giving away money. Nurturers, if they don't have money, they give away their time. They over-deliver in their, healers and intuitives. And moms, in particular, over-volunteer, over-give in their time because they feel this call to serve, but it's usually at the cost of their own work-life balance and their own happiness and their own success.
You're right. Women in general tend to be pleasers and tend to sometimes give too much of themselves and not take care of themselves enough and make themselves enough of a priority. So we talked a little bit about the archetypes. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more? Because there's several different types. Again, I did the assessment, and I was kind of a maverick at this point in my life. Of course, that could change in the future given age and dynamics like that. But what are the sacred money archetypes?
So the sacred money archetype, and I just want to show these cards here because they're really pretty. If you can kind of see a little bit of the different colorful cards. It's actually an assessment and a concept created by an amazing woman named Kendall Summerhawk. And I went last October to an event where I was introduced to this and fell in love with it and immediately signed up to become certified to offer it because of the impact that it had in my life by just. And to back up just a little bit, I'm a student of personal development. I love assessments, total assessment junkie, been in therapy, crazy family, the whole bit, pretty typical story of most of us. And this one assessment, Drea, really single-handedly changed how I perceived myself, my level of intelligence related to money, and my ability to make money in my business. So I found it to be very impactful. Yes, it was that level of impact for me. All of a sudden, it made me just kind of stand back and go, wow, I'm really not stupid with money. I'm just not paying attention to it. There's a big difference there. And a lot of women make the equation that because maybe they're not good at geometry and algebra, they're not good at money. There's this, sort of misconception that if we're not great with math or, complicated concepts of mathematics, that we're also not good with money. And the truth is that the two are completely different things, and there's some really simple tools that we can learn. So that's why I'm so passionate about the archetypes.
I love it. I can feel your passion. So tell me, so did you change your archetype? Did you go from one to another? Did you better balance them? How did you come to a resolution with these things that you found out after you assessed your archetype?
So great question. So there's 8 archetypes, and usually when someone takes the assessment, we just look at your top 3 archetypes. And for me, it was all about acknowledging, and this is what I've seen with other clients as well, what my gifts are and my challenges are, and figuring out where do I need to balance my challenges so that I can make sure I'm paying attention to the financial details. Connectors just don't pay attention to details when it comes to money, and we kind of just trust that money's always magically going to appear and we're always going to have enough. I love the Maverick. The Maverick's always championing underdogs and really excited about taking care of others. I mentioned the accumulator. The accumulator is the one who holds on really tight to money and saves a lot of their money. Some other examples might be the alchemist. That's a really fun one. The alchemist is brilliant at ideas, but their challenge is they're not great at transforming ideas into financial success. So that's just a little insight. We've also got the celebrity living where you live. You see probably a lot of celebrity lifestyles where they flow in all this tons of money and then it flows right back out again, where they're great at bringing in money, but they are also great at spending it really fast and furious and not saving for the future. So understanding your archetype is such a powerful tool for just awareness, I guess I would say, and figuring out what are some better actions you can take. And one of my most fun things, Drea, was doing readings with couples, with married couples, to understand how to get them on the same page, because really money is one of the biggest issues, divisive issues, I would say, in marriages.
I agree. It leads to more divorce, I think, than any other topic, honestly. So how have the archetypes helped you when you're coaching clients and moving them forward?
So it helps me understand where their fears are as well as where some of their challenges are. For clients, that might have archetypes like connector and nurturer, simply learning to track their money is a really powerful tool. I had one client that really wasn't paying attention to the money that was flowing in, and when she actually started to track it, she'd made more in the first 3 months of this year than she had in the 6 months prior. But she was clueless about how much money she had coming in because she wasn't really paying attention. So little small details like that, helping people understand if they are a ruler archetype, for example, and they're empire builders, helping them to think bigger and be confident in thinking bigger and believing that they can build these bigger visions of what they want to make happen in the world, whether it's start a movement, start a cool website like yours. You know, there's a lot of different ways that can impact our vision of what's possible.
So do you think that we should go with like our natural born archetypes? Again, as you said, we learn a lot of things from our parents, our grandparents, you know, what they come from. Should we go with what we're taught or what we innately feel, or should we really try to develop our own based on what sounds good to us? Because again, I know that the Maverick's fun, but I also want some of those characteristics of where I'm planning for the future. So I kind of want to pick a couple different types of archetypes and blend them. So
yeah, it's a great question. You know, I do a lot of work with assessments and core temperament and personality assessments as well. And the thing is that these are really core traits that you're not going to change your archetype. What's going to change is your awareness around the challenges. So you can say, okay, I do need to be saving for the future. What's stopping me from doing that, right? Is it just because it's more fun to be over here taking bigger risks on investment? Is it just not a priority in my life right now? Because we can talk all day about wanting to save for the future, but you have to actually take action and do that. So that's where I see it having an impact, is understanding where you're starting so that you can make different choices and take different actions.
So we're really looking at the psychology of money and kind of why we're shaped that way, and then maybe adding some ingredients to that to say, okay, well, I want to spend money and enjoy life, but I also want to make sure I save for a rainy day. Do you actually use financials? Do you have people chart that out, or is it more, again, with going with that underlying psychology?
Some of both, depending on the situation. A lot of the work I find I do with women is helping them understand their budget. How much is it, costing them to run their family or run their house? People are pretty unrealistic about how much money they need. Numbers can be very mythical for some people, me included, that we need to have kind of a bigger emotional why attached to numbers. Or we think maybe we never have enough, and you might sit down with a financial planner, and I'm not a financial planner, and find out that you have plenty for retirement, but you have that need for security, so you keep trying to accumulate. So again, it's awareness, it's inspired action really, and it's paying attention to the details. So yes, budget and tracking and paying attention are a big part of that. And little simple things like clearing up money clutter is a great one. How many gift cards do most of us have sitting around that we haven't used? How many of us have old torn wallets that are stacked full of receipts and not cash, that, we're not treating money with respect. And this was something that I definitely had to learn. I just didn't pay attention to money. But, money is out there. And the more we pay attention to it, I think the more that it grows.
So yeah, those hard and fast numbers, I guess, can turn it into more of reality, because sometimes we don't even know where our strength and our weaknesses lie, I guess, until we really start to play with the numbers. I was laughing because I have like 3 gift cards. I was looking at my wallet yesterday. I'm like, oh, why do I have all these? So I'm going to go spend them on something either for a gift or something that will inspire me. How do you use all this great information with the archetyping and the real numbers to help women grow their businesses?
So it's pretty simple. I'll give you a very specific example. I was working with a woman who's a coach in New York, and when we looked at all of this information and especially looked at her budget and how much money she wanted to create, we realized that her dream was not to build some huge 6-figure, 7-figure business, but just to be able to pay her rent. They live in Manhattan. Her husband's a school teacher, right? And it would be really helpful if she could bring in, and as you know, rents in Manhattan are really high, so it was, $3,000 a month. And she thought, if I could just cover the rent consistently every month, that would be super exciting. And it's a great starting place. I think women get stuck thinking that they have to go big really quickly. And if we can start by saying, what are your most immediate needs and goals, and how can we make that happen? In her case, we only needed to find her 3 additional clients to make that happen. And when we finished our coaching, she found 2 of those 3 and was well on her way to finding 3 of them. So understanding exactly what it is that you need, and that it's usually not as big as you think. And because I work so much with money and with marketing, people think they have to have these huge, dramatic, full-blown marketing plans that Coca-Cola has, and the truth is Coca-Cola that spends billions in marketing every year, and for most of us that's not even necessary. So it's a matter of really understanding what you need and then figuring out where can I go find those few clients that I need.
I think it's so true. We need goals, but we need goals that are attainable, because we don't want to set them so unrealistic that they discourage us. And I think you basically said it. It's one foot in front of the other. We don't have to, build a mansion right now. We can take baby steps to get to what our bigger goals are. I love that. So does all this financial and understanding and learning and growing in that area overflow into our love lives?
I would say absolutely, because the more conscientious we are about what it is that we want to create in our lives, the more we're willing to have discussions about it. When we tend to hide from money discussions and be unwilling to have them because maybe they feel confrontational, or we just don't want to know what the truth, I can honestly say that my husband and I, neither of us love paying attention to money and to kind of the big picture stuff. We pay all our bills on time, it's not like that, but it's that, oh, there's money going into the 401k and, and there's money floating around. But really getting a clear picture has really helped us. And we recently sat down with a financial planner. We're only 6 years away from being empty nesters. My kids will be gone. Actually, 5 years. My son just finished his freshman year in high school. We only have 5 years left with our kiddos. It changes what we want to create and how we want to spend our time and what's going to happen at that point. And so understanding that picture impacts intimacy in amazing ways, because you have to be willing to be vulnerable. It can be a challenging conversation, but trying to get on the same page is the quickest way to recuperate some of that romance, especially in marriages. And if you're new in a relationship, being willing to talk about money and how you feel about money is important. It's a key core value. I talk a lot about core values in my work, and helping women understand, and men as well, how important is financial security. For some people, they're happy to ride that roller coaster and not worry so much about it. And if you have one person who's riding the roller coaster happily and another one who's freaking out because they're an accumulator holding on tightly, it causes a lot of disagreements. And then, sometimes I find that you can have one partner who's nickel and diming the other one, and so just paying attention to the conversations around money is really, really insightful, and it can be fun. It doesn't have to be hard and challenging.
Well, I think you were saying, it causes more turmoil in a marriage, so why it certainly could do the reverse of that, I'm sure, as well, if you get on the same page. I love that. So what do you think the most important step a business owner needs to take their business to the next level? Is it just, okay, money, 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 okay, numbers, 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 or the psychology, or what's going to get us to that next level?
I would say that it's being really clear about what it is that you want to create. When I have initial conversations with women, whether they're struggling with money or marketing or whatever they think that they're struggling with, usually they're not really clear about what it is that they want to build or why they want to build it. So really having a powerful and passionate big why about being in business, I think, is the driver, and helps us make decisions about money and about time and all the other things we need to do if we can always come back to our sense of who we are at the core and why we're in business. If you're in business to serve, great, but who are you called to serve and why? And for me, that's so motivational to understand that. It keeps me going every day, even when there's not clients flowing in as steadily as I might want. It's a challenge to be a woman business owner, especially a solopreneur. If you're working from home, and so many women these days are, and I'm such a fan of that model. I love the flexibility it affords me. My husband and I both work at home. We're here every day when the kiddos get home from school. It makes a big difference, but it definitely is a challenge to stay motivated. And so having that big why helps you. It's like a touchstone that you can go back to.
Any other tips or tricks for women who are working out of their homes? Because I know even socially sometimes it can get challenging because you don't have that interaction. So when you're working at home and trying to build your business, some tips for that.
So I would say 2 tips. One, what you acknowledge, the isolation could be a killer. Get out of the house, go find a networking group, go meet a friend for coffee at least a couple of times a week. Get out of the house and go talk with other women business owners. You need the support and the motivation of other people who are doing the same thing that you are, even if it's not in the same industry. But I just truly believe that where women gather, magic happens. And the more you can create opportunities for yourself to be around other women, especially women who are even more successful than you are, that can pull you up. Finding a mentor is really powerful. Hiring a coach is a great idea. And then the second thing I would say is to really manage your time effectively and don't do the laundry during work hours. I find that women who work from home, especially if they're transitioning from corporate to being an entrepreneur, that they tend to try to mix up everything, that they're trying to do the laundry and clean the kitchen, and their office is the dining room table, and there's no clear separation. You have to really set up a formal work environment and treat it like a job. It is a job. It may be something you're passionate about and having so much fun about, but make sure that you're treating it like the sacred opportunity that it is.
Those are some great tips. One other thing, when we're talking about men and women, do you find that men have a different idea in general about money? Because in my experience, it seems like particularly at a certain age before they're older in life, they're much more willing to take risk and gambles with money. Do you find that women are more security driven, or?
I think it depends. Again, the archetypes are great to help understand that. I think where I see men differ, and having owned a publishing company and been in sales for a really long time, they're much more willing to ask for the money. They're more willing to ask for a raise in their job. They're more willing to ask for the close in a sales situation. So whether they ride the roller coaster or they value financial security, I would say varies by individual quite dramatically, but where I see them is having so much more confidence in their own relationship with money. So that I think that's where that idea of being bigger risk takers is, that they're more comfortable knowing that they can ask for the money, they can make changes, they can recuperate the money. So I think they just have more confidence around money.
So that being said, what's the number one thing maybe women can do to help build their confidence so that they will not have that fear, and so they can move forward and really go for the big money?
Know that they're worth it. Really believe that they're worth it and that they stand in their own value. I think we tend to diminish our value too often and not really clearly stand up. I think guys are a lot greater about tooting their own horns as well, where women, we were raised in a generation where it wasn't okay. We were told that we were being egotistical or conceited or whatever, and it wasn't okay to toot our own horn. We need to get over that and be willing to really stand in our value and tell the whole world how great we are.
I agree. Confidence is attractive in everyone, and confidence is not to be confused with arrogance, but
yes,
we trust and love confident people. So I want to buy from someone who is confident about their product. So I think that's a great point. So where can we find out more information about you, about your coaching?
Awesome. So they can go to my website, MinetteRiordan.com. You should be seeing that on the bottom of the screen. And you can actually download a free copy of the Sacred Money Archetype Assessment and the sample cards. No risks at all. Totally super fun assessment to take. If you go to MinetteRiordan.com/money, you will find a form to download those free assessments. And it's super fun. I highly encourage everyone to take a look and have some fun. It's so insightful.
Yes, ma'am, Minette, it is fun because I did it and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed just seeing the differences and even the things that I wasn't as geared towards. It was interesting seeing that, and it made me think. It stimulated my thought process around my views on money, so it is a great assessment to take. Thank you, Minette, again so much for all your time today, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Great. Thank you so much, Drea.
Bye-bye.